So welcome to the Project Communities course. This is a little introduction to give you some sense of what this course is about and why we think it's important. I have to admit I have a little cheat sheet with you, so you may see me looking down to make sure I get it right. Now, I think one of the things that happens when we think about design is we have this myth, this heroic myth of the solo designer. And yes, Steve Jobs was amazing, but he's not the only kind of designer. And through history, brilliant thinkers, designers, and engineers have actually used their peers and colleagues to inform their work, even if it meant like sending a letter via a boat that took 6 months to get there, or just working with the people around you. So this idea is that we can think about ideas and germinate those ideas and work on those ideas, not in isolation, but with other brains. And today, in today's world, we're facing lots of complex problems that really ask us to use more than our own brains, but to use the brains of the people around us, so that we're designing things that can be the best possible thing, whether it's a commercial product or a product that might save the world and help someone get access to water or housing or light in their house. So the Project Communities course is to look at how do we tap into this wider world. And we don't have to send letters by boat anymore. We have this thing called the internet that can actually help us reach more diverse people than ever before. People who aren't like us, who could help shape and form our thinking, our designing, our implementing, and our distribution of these products. So Project Community is to explore at least 4 kinds of online groups and networks to understand what value they bring to the design process, and then also to think about how we behave in those different kinds of groups in productive ways, how group size matters, how the kinds of connections or relationships we have with people does or doesn't matter in a particular context. So we're going to have a good time learning from and with and from each other, but let me tell you about the 4 sort of design hats. Now there's this guy called deBono who has this thing called the 6 thinking hats, and this kind of inspired me for the 4 design hats. So the first hat is idea networks. This is where we're getting creative and we want to understand needs and understand what has to happen. So this is about getting information from people, understanding how these ideas can be generated, because you know, we may think we're the next Steve Jobs of the world, but the fact is we're not, and we need to use the diverse perspectives, particularly when we're dealing with international development. These Millennium Development Goals are complex, and no one person is going to have all the answers. So this is why idea networks are particularly important. The second is a practical one. It's work teams. We're going to put on my work hat here. Work teams are how do we coordinate and work with each other. Now, as a team thrown together, picked by someone else for a class, this can be a little bit intimidating. And you want to be able to figure out how to make this work well. So this theme will run through all your work, not the beginning, not the middle, not the end, through the whole thing. And you'll learn a lot about working in teams that's going to help you the rest of the time in the design engineering program. Okay, so next is you got a great idea. You got to go on Safari for resources, crowdfunding, because anything you want to do in development, people aren't just throwing money to you. NGOs are often struggling to find the support they need to get to do the things that they're trying to do. So we're going to look at how this emerging thing in the internet, crowdfunding, can work for some or all of your projects. And some of you will assess and find out, this isn't the right thing. And others of you may identify it as a really powerful thing and may think about how you can help your client do that. So the world can help you make things happen. You don't have to do it alone. And finally, the 4th hat is marketing the product, the idea, and servicing at our customer communities. So we can use communities and networks. I'm not just talking about marketing as content on the internet, but how can I tap into my network to help expand the demand for what you're trying to do? How can we amplify this out? And then furthermore, most NGOs don't have the time to support everybody who's trying to do something. So how can communities support themselves and help each other do things? So this is the idea of a customer community. So these are the 4 hats that we're going to do this year, and we're going to have fun. These 4 hats will be used to bring together this thing of how do you use the network, communities, to go from the design process from beginning to end. The way we're going to do it is we're not going to give you lots of content. We're going to ask you hard questions and point you out to the world so you can use your networks, you can use the internet, You can use lots of things to begin answer these questions. But it is a discovery process, not a delivery of information. So we learned last year that we have this principle of confusiasm. You might be confused, but we'll be enthusiastic about it. And we're all co-learners in this journey. So it isn't like there's one single answer. But I do say that the side of, this kind of self-driven learning is you have to learn to ask questions back and how to find answers. So if there's anything in terms of a basic learning skill, asking and answering questions can be a fundamental thing here. The second thing is that you're going to apply your learning towards a project with a real NGO. We're going to learn a little bit about the Millennium Development Goals, if they're unfamiliar to you, and about designing for the context of international development, which is basically about people getting the basic necessities of their lives available to them: water, food, housing, education, healthcare, and, some kind of ability to live in the world. So these projects we're going to build week by week. We're going to inquire around different aspects, the 4 hats, some other perspectives, and towards the end you're going to create a short video that you'll actually present to an NGO and to your peers to tell them what you've learned about how they could use networks and communities online to help address one or more of their problems. So it's real world, it is complex, it may be confusing, but we're going to go at it with enthusiasm. And I'm really happy to be along on the ride with you here from Seattle, Washington. And Alan, who's in Arizona, we will be with you online as much as possible, almost like we were there with you. So we're looking forward to Project Community 2013. I expect amazing things.